What is the origin of the great god, Algorithmo, whom we all serve?
Well, there was a time when the idea and the idealism behind the internet was that it would enable free communication and access to knowledge, right? And that was the driving force behind most of it. Conspiracy theorists were limited to Geocities pages in bright colours on a black background with animated GIFs that nobody ever really went to. Some people have carried on that fine tradition into the modern era, David Icke being a prime example. It's the equivalent of writing a long screed with caps for every word, ranting about lizard people or whatever, photocopying it and sending 100 copies to Prince Charles or whatever. These days, of course, these things are more mainstream and are spewed through social media, but there was even a time when social media was the people you chose to follow in chronological order, and things were better back then. Who knew that such a simple change would bring ruin to the earth and all of those who dwell upon her? But it has. So the origin of Algorithmo, in that sense, is that some mathematical whiz kid with some crossover knowledge into human psychology figured out a way to make these sites, search results as well, churn up things that are tailored for you. So it's not reality or knowledge that you're being served up, it's what will best suit advertisers and engagement farmers. So stuff that will annoy you or reconfirm your existing biases rather than sending you to the most qualitative information, or even information that you've chosen to subscribe to in the case of social media. When it comes to how I came up with Algorithmo, there is a trend amongst atheists and skeptics on social media and YouTube to give various mocking names to things like the Great Non-Existo or Atheismo, as Sisik says. So since we all bow down and serve this inscrutable black box of internet algorithms, which is not dissimilar to how people used to worship or try to placate gods, and would just come up with all kinds of rituals and incantations and so on to do so, this struck me as very similar. So that's how I came up with Algorithmo. Another big influence, of course, was Jeffrey Rowland of the Wigu webcomic, who came up with the God of Internets, which was a multi-armed cat, because, obviously the internet is made of cats, but there you go. Not terribly exciting, but that's why. It's a mockery of our own behaviour as we try to manipulate or cajole the algorithm, which strikes me as being very similar to religious behaviour. So, there.
Grim gave a big yawn and settled down to sleep. And of course, when Grim goes to sleep, all of his friends go to sleep too. The people on the internet were just text on a screen, the collectibles were just cheap plastic tat, and the books were just elaborate sandwiches made of wood and paper. Even Grim himself, once he was asleep, was just an old saggy goth twat, baggy and a bit loose at the seams, and nobody loved him.